Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to WCS America. That's right, we're going to finish off the WCS America round of 8 right now with Oz versus Arthur. Nathanius is back with me. What did you make of that last one? Apart from the fact that someone told me you were in the toilet crying over Terran tears.
I mean, it's true there's no Terrans left. I think everybody's surprised not only that Polt lost that series, but that no Terrans made it into the semifinals. That match was, we kind of talked about how even in yesterday's games, Hyun really needed to bring something new to the table if he wanted to take out Tasia. And I think Revival was maybe inspired, and he turned it up to a level that I think we haven't seen in a very long time. Polt, arguably the best Terran versus Zerg player in the world right now.
Okay, let's check in with the bracket one more time just to show you the players who had advanced through. At the top of the bracket yesterday, of course, if you missed any of these, you can pick them up on the YouTube channel under the VODs. Alicia came through against Bomber. That was one Terran down. Second Terran to fall in the cards was to Hyun 3-2. That was the second game of yesterday. And earlier on today, the third Terran out of 3 falls at the hands of his teammate Revival. It's shocking way to go, really. I don't think any of us looked at the bracket and went, we're not going to get a single Terran in the semi-finals, even, you know, the Terrans amongst us, but anyone would have been crazy to have predicted that.
Yeah, especially Polt. He definitely showed the least weakness out of any of the players that he competed. He'd even taken the series off of Bomber in his round of 16 group. So I think a Terranless final, it's tough, but there's still a lot of very good players left. I'm personally pulling a little bit more for Hyun now, one of our funnier players, and Revival's definitely earned what I feel is could be a spot in the finals too.
Yeah. All right, we're going to get into our next matchup in just a minute, but first of all, let's check in with Arthur and Oz's journey to the quarterfinals. Oz, on the other side, has started to show us some real form.
Oz had indeed a great run in Season 3, but it's also been a while. Since then, haven't we seen that much from Oz? Nothing that really stands out to mind. I'm a little worried for Oz.
The probes are going to act as the zealots here, with a few of them backing it up as best they can do. And zealots coming up from the left-hand side, trying to trap as much of this as possible. But this is Heart's last move, and there you go, GG. Oz is able to hold on, 2-0 victory.
But there are still a lot of zealots that will be able to soak up so much damage, so maybe it is Oz going to be after all. Oz so solid in PvP in general, excellent win record, and again, Oz will make it to WCS America round of 8.
Yeah, Arthur, again, beat Bomber in the round of 32, had a terrific tournament.
As the wraparound starts, oh, great force field on that left-hand side, sealing those Zerglings from even getting around. Oh!
The thing about Arthur, it was covered well, is that he's a very cheesy player. He's always going to try to bring on the aggression, always going to go for specific builds on specific maps.
You know, the most important thing that made it so hard for Tootming, that even if he had resources to maybe produce some Corruptors, he had no access to the Spire for the longest time. And GG is called, and Arthur will make it to WCS America round of 8.
So there we go, the two players' road to the semi-finals. Nathan, when we examine these two players in a little bit more depth, it's very difficult to understand both of these players' positions currently, mainly because they're so different. Even Protoss players, very different. You've got Oz, who has always been strong mechanics, very solid all-round play, renowned for his preparation before he comes into a match, which might make him a slight favourite against Arthur, but never spectacular. He's kind of like the nearly man of StarCraft. When you look back at his results, second in IEM Shanghai last year, third, fourth in America, Season 3. MLG had a couple of third places as well. GSL, in fact, back in 2011, third, fourth. So he's always been a good player, but never quite reached the peak and never been able to win one of those top tournaments. So what do you make of him in this matchup?
I personally, when I look at Oz, I see, as you said, it's the best way to describe him, especially compared to Arthur, is he's that mechanically strong player that you expect to play about as solid of a PvP as he really can. I don't think that he's the kind of player to try to pull out anything crazy, which I guess, as you may have alluded to, is what we should be expecting at this point from Arthur.
Yeah. I mean, he kind of got a bit upset with some of the fans recently on Twitter with the fact that they were calling him a bit cheesy and, you know, what have you. But, you know, cheese is part of the game, and I think some of the Protoss players that you see doing it, you actually think, well, we saw MC yesterday doing it, we rarely see that against Stardust, of all players, who is renowned for cheese play. So it's just part of the game, right? I mean, it doesn't matter whether he has fans against it or likes it. I don't think that makes any difference to him.
Yeah, when it comes down to there being big money on the line, we've seen it time and time again. BlizzCon Finals, Katowice, SOS has shown us that, hey, you're Protoss, if you can win with a cheese like that and win tons of money, all the fame, all the glory, it's worth it. And it's StarCraft 2, it's a game of anything goes. And if you think it's the only way you can win, it's the best way to play. And
Arthur's definitely shown us some of that in the previous rounds. Bomber, 2-1 win over Bomber, of course, in round of 32. And his round of 16, a little bit more difficult because he had Tasia in the mix of that one, but he came through a tricky group. Overall, though, neither of these has a top tournament to their name in history. Oz probably, definitely has more experience in this kind of scenario, but do you think that might help Arthur? I mean, in that he's just kind of rolling along with this. He's just taking it as he finds it, a bit like Wellmoon, really, in Europe.
Yeah, one definite way that you can look at this is nobody thinks Arthur's going to go much farther. I don't think a lot of people are going to peg him to go past this round. I'd be really shocked if anybody had to win this tournament. And that can give you the comfortability to say, if there's no pressure on me to win this, I'm not Polt. I don't have anything to really lose here. Every win that I get is a big step that I, almost shouldn't be taking to win this. And I think that definitely gives Arthur an edge. Oz has a much bigger target on his back.
Okay. Oz, in recent form, has lost 6 of his last 9 PvPs offline, which is not a great statistic. On the other side of the fence, Arthur has won 11 of his last 15. So, in form, surprise, but we can't discount Oz. He has a very solid record, and he's very experienced at this kind of game.
I think this particular season, this round of 8 for both America and Europe has shown us the statistics aren't playing into the results very much, especially looking at just series of Hyun Tasia. Polt's supposed to be the best Terran versus Zerg, loses. I think whatever odds are given, either in favor of Oz or Arthur, they should all just be thrown out the window at this point.
Yeah, you're probably right. I don't know how you're doing in the prediction stakes in the sweepstakes that we've been having amongst the commentators and the host, but up till the 7th match, I was 0-7 this time. And I might point out that's not just me being a noob. At BlizzCon last year, I was 8-0 in the round of 16. So I'm having a bad run here, Nathan. Help me out here and pick one of these two for me.
I don't know if I should do the picking either. I had a Polt Tasia final in my dreams, but looking at this match overall, I think PvP is one of those matchups where a lot of the builds end up being aggressive, and even some of the more cheesy builds are still kind of standard in a ladder meta game that you'd practice a lot. So I do want to give an edge to Oz, and I'd say he should be able to pull this series out unless Arthur melts all of our minds at this series.
All right, thank you very much, Nathan. Going to check back in with Nathanius at the end of this match, and we'll also have a bit of a wrap up with all the guys from WCS America on exactly their thoughts about the round of 8 here in Europe, but for WCS America. It's time now for our final match of the night and of the quarterfinals. The last place is up for grabs. It's going to be a Protoss, but which one's it going to be? Is it cheese or is it standard? Let's find out with your commentary team.
Thank you very much, Paul. Yes, indeed. It is going to be our final series over here this beautiful Friday night. But it's been a lot of fun. We saw a lot of surprises and a lot of amazing StarCraft 2. Johan, the first thing I want to ask you immediately, they went over statistics a little bit, but I think you're also one of the first players to immediately say, like, you can look into statistics, but first look at who played who to get to the statistics where you are, correct?
Yeah, and also in PvP, it's a lot more about direct comparison. You could be very good in PvP, but then against with the one player that you have to play against, you have time against his style in particular. But now, both of these players, I would say they're pretty good in mirror, and we're gonna have Arthur, who I think he's gonna try to go for obviously his usual builds, very very aggressive, things like fast DTs and all that. Oz is aware of that, so Oz is gonna have to be the player who aspire basically to play like Sand, to adapt perfectly to everything that's what his opponent is doing. Is similar to what we saw with Sand versus Wellmoon, with Wellmoon, I guess, being comparable to Arthur in a way here. And I hope he's not going to take this the wrong way, because he likes to have his own style as well. Yonsu vetoed.
Yeah, a surprising veto here in the PvP. Oz decided to veto Altazim's Stronghold. I don't find that one all that surprising, as Altazim is known to be a relatively random map as well, where it can be hard for a Protoss player to scout. I think you're spot on, Todd, when you say that Oz is most likely going to play, he's not going to play too passive. He's not just going to sit back, but he's definitely aware of how his opponent likes to play. And for the people who are still relatively unfamiliar with Arthur, Arthur is the type of guy that goes Stargate into a Blink Stalker follow-up. Not somehow trying to transition. No, he's going to try to win the game with pretty much most of the builds he does. And this is really interesting, guys, because you can look at a PvP and, you know, some people are extremely good in mid-late games. Some people have beautiful late games, like, you know, looking at the partings, the range, the zest. It's amazing, and I think PvP can be an absolutely fantastic matchup, but it's almost a whole different matchup. It requires a whole different skill to survive early on. And I think with these two guys going up against each other, both of them are really strong early to early mid-game.
You think there's any chance Oz's game plan here is to try to hang in there up until the mid to late game, where he's going to be better than Arthur?
I definitely think...
Where's the handshake?
No love shared between these two Protoss guys. I think you're spot on there. I think that Oz will be active, will go out on the map. I kind of missed the map process, but I think most of the maps he's just going to open up relatively safe, but still with some aggression, at least to take map control and see what is going on and say, okay, if this is going on, I'm going to do this and this. And the moment my two bases are up and running, I think I'm already pretty good. Because what is interesting as well is that, yes, Oz lost 3-1 against SOS at IM Katowice, but the only game that was a very long game was the one that Oz won.
Interesting. You know, Oz, I think I know him probably a lot better than Arthur. And it's funny to think that already back in Wings of Liberty, he was an innovator. You know, he was one of the first guys to really bring out those new builds, play with Blink a lot at a time where everybody thought Robo was the best build ever. He was moving out with 1 or 2 stars. I remember one series in particular versus Hero, Liquid Zero, where basically with their first few stalkers, they were meeting in the middle of the map and fighting, which today, this is something you see almost every single game. But back then, everybody was staying in their base. Everybody was playing it safe. Everybody was going for the Robo. So Oz, he has tremendous amount of experience. Remember, he was also that guy who said PvP is not up to luck. It's up to skill. And then he went to MLG and Grubby said, oh, really? And then he beat him like twice. So he should be careful not to get overconfident in his own skill. It's good to be confident, but there is always a luck factor, to some extent as well. I feel like in Heart of the Swarm, though, it's minimal compared to in Wings of Liberty. In Wings of Liberty, it was super black and white. It's like Stargate beat Robo, Robo beat Twilight, and Twilight beat Stargate. But now, DTs are used a lot more often, and everything is counted well. Everybody knows when to have their stalkers in their mineral line. Everybody knows when to wall off their ramp with units so that DTs don't walk in, except sometimes when I'm a little bit slow on ladder. But no, honestly, this matchup has gone a long way, and it's super interesting nowadays to watch these top players play battle a lot in PvP.
Did you see Arthur with his little note thingy that he had on the side with probably like some, it was like a memo with a few hidden strategies on it or something. He's like, opens it up, he's like, went behind Dark Shrine, and he folds it back in, puts it next to his keyboard.
No. It said Dark Shrine, not went behind. Just Dark Shrine.
Either way, guys, Heavy Rain is going to be our first map of the last best of 5 of the day. The winner of this series will move on to face Revival. So that means that if Oz wins, that would be a rematch of the Intel Extreme Masters Shanghai in 2013. Johan, the first series is not even 7 seconds old, or something crazy is already going to happen. As soon as we are loaded into this game, we are going to go ahead and introduce the players, but I'm going to keep it relatively short for the first series today, because this red Protoss player on the north side of the map, representing Team ESC Icy Box, is Arthur. And some of you guys who play a lot of StarCraft might notice that something was missing in Arthur's base, but of course he's going to try to do something cheeky against this handsome blue Protoss in the south side of the maps. Representing his new team, Planet Key, I believe he is Oz. Just this weekend, actually, got picked up by a team. Johan, tell us what is happening, what does Arthur wants to achieve with this?
I'm not sure which proxy it's going to be. It looks like it could be a Gateway 10. Usually you see, in this location, you see more often Gateway 11 and the double Gateway Stalker, but now with the Gateway 10, I have to wonder, since he's sticking around with his probe, still probably going to be a double Gateway with Switch. He might get a Zealot first and then go into Stalkers very, very quickly. But look, he's chrono boosting up probes now, so it's
I'm not sure if he's going to see it. Okay, now he will.
I think he is, yeah.
He
if you check down there, you're always going to check that corner as well. And You know what? Oz is already in a great position. That's so funny.
This is always my favorite moment when the probe is on the rally point and it sees the gateway and then it goes away and it's like, wait a minute. And it turns around and it double checks. He's like, that's what's going on. Second gate will be warped in. But we also see that the assimilator is warped in on the other side of the map. So Arthur does want to get some stalkers out, right, Jon?
You know, Oz is gonna basically try to match Arthur's build here, except he has a few more probes. 4 in total right now. And you see he was very careful not to start an extra one because he's gonna have to make a Zealot now. He would have been supply blocked. So he gets the Cybernetics core as soon as possible, so he's gonna be able to start a Stalker. And we're gonna see a Zealot being chrono boosted here in a second, I'm sure. And Oz, I feel like he's already won. I'm sorry. I need to stay honest with you guys here.
That's a White call right there. White once upon a time at the home circuit. It's GG. We will see. It's still very hard. This is still very micro-intensive, and it's not easy, even when you're defending, to do everything right. But of course, Oz does have the advantage. He's doing the same thing as his opponent, but he has a 4-worker lead. He's gonna have to run around a little bit with these probes, but guys, he can lose 4 probes, and even then he's in a good position because his buildings are where they're supposed to be, in his base.
Arthur started his Stalkers a little bit earlier, but if you look at Arthur too, he does not have a pylon in production. He's going to be supply blocked after those 2 Stalkers, whereas Oz, he still has room to make more units. So Arthur starts a late pylon up the ramp so that he can have vision when he's going to try to kite now. The thing is, there's going to be the same amount of units, so with a few probes, it's not going to matter.
This pylon is crucial if you play against any other build order, but right now, if Oz doesn't mess up with microing, and so far he did take a lot of damage on his Stalkers, but he will pick up that first Zealot. He could pull probes, Johan, he could pull probes, and he is going to pull probes. He will get just 1 Stalker at the cost of losing one of his own Stalkers.
Yeah, the other one's going to die. He lost all its shield already, and Oz, I think he's done it here. More Stalkers coming out now, whereas Arthur is probably pretty disappointed right now, and not the way you want your proxy to go down, and I've been there.
GG is called. Arthur will realize that he's too far behind, and Oz is going to win the first map over here in this best of 5. And look at that cheeky grin. He's like, really, man? You already...
He's like, seriously?
Yeah, you have that reputation, and then in game 1, like game 2 or 3, I understand, but game 1 on heavy rain, really? So this is nice for Oz. Above all, Johan, he didn't even have to reveal what he wanted to do. He's just like, he scouted it, and he's like, I'll do the exact same thing as you do, but I do it defensively, so it will be better.
Well, you know, we've talked about this. I think this is really the way this series is going to go, with Arthur trying stuff and Oz answering, and we see the final moments of that first game here. Arthur not taking it too badly, and Oz taking it very well.
Yes, Oz taking it like a champ, man. That grin. He's not there yet, though. It's a best of 5 in PvP. Almost anything can happen. And of course, guys, Arthur having that reputation, and especially busting out a crazy strategy like this in game 1. You know, if he changes things up in game 2 and actually plays much more defensive, he could perhaps get a small lead, because Oz is definitely going to be careful in the strategies that he's going to choose.
You know, I had a chance to eat breakfast with Alicia this morning, and when I asked him about this matchup, he said to me, Oz 3-0, basically. That's all he said. So, swift prediction here. He seemed very sure of himself, and I think he's been talking to us, and he knows how confident he is. He knows what kind of game plan he has, and so far, well, after this game, looks like it's going to be tough for Arthur to make things work. He's definitely going to have to try to play something different. It's funny, I think Oz usually does not necessarily always scout for these proxies, but now against Arthur, he's like, oh, hell no. I'm not going to let that happen.
Two-player map as well. Like, you're just going to scout for it almost immediately. Our second map is going to be another 2-player map, and it is going to be Polar Night. And that's an interesting map, because I've seen both of these players in action multiple times. Arthur is no stranger of proxying a Stargate near the rocks, but of course, you know, after doing something cheesy in game 1 and it backfired, do you really want to roll the dice again in game 2? Well, maybe you do, but...
That's you saying that.
If you're a degen, you do, but I actually wouldn't be surprised at all to see something a little more solid from Arthur. Maybe a 1-gate Twilight. And with Oz, you know, it could almost be anything, like from the range of straight-up 3-gate aggression to 1-gate Twilight into 2 more gates, and maybe even an Oracle opening, as we do know that Oz does like Oracle openings as well.
I think one of Arthur's best chance, if he really wants to try to trick Oz and make him believe he's doing something different than he actually is hide a building out on the map. Be it a Twilight or a Stargate, you just gotta pick a location and go for it, and hope that your opponent is not gonna scout for it. I think that would be a good idea.
But the thing is, he already did it once in the round of 32 against Haas, and I am sure that he, you know, also had time to do some research on Arthur as well. All you have to do is type in YouTube. You go to YouTube, you type in Arthur versus Haas. You can watch that game. So Arthur knows that as well. He knows that that game wasn't Polar Night.
Yeah, he places it in a different location, and then Oz checks. He's like, "Oh, it's safe." And then the blur walks into his base.
No, we never know. Either way, game 2 is about to begin here in our final best of 5 of the night. Hopefully you guys enjoyed all the StarCraft 2 action. But for now, we are going to see if this man on the top side of Polar Night, representing Team ESC Icy Box, Arthur, will be able to bounce back in this series while he's going up against the Blue Protoss, spawning on the south side of Polar Night. A man who is notorious for being strong in this matchup. We know him as Oz.
You know, Revival, I think his last series was very, very impressive. But if you think about Oz, his worst matchup is Protoss versus Tyrion. I think if he wins here, he actually has a serious shot at winning the whole thing. This is crazy.
I think all 4 of them have a very serious shot at winning the whole thing. Hyun is playing like a man on fire,
yeah,
and I think he has pretty okay ZVP as well. He showed us at Katowice. Alicia is having the best tournament run he has in a long time, and I feel, you know, I also feel that he struggled a bit in PvT. I felt his strats were a little shaky. I think he's more solid in the other 2 matchups. I think right now WCS America is up for grabs, and Oz must feel that as well. And you know, even Arthur in a bizarre scenario, if he's gonna win WCS in the near future, you know, not gonna have to go up against guys like Liquid Hero, EG's Jadong, Paul, Tasia, Bomber. This is probably the easiest route that you're ever gonna get, and that's absolutely no disrespect to the amazing players that we have left. It's just the way it is.
See what I talked about earlier with Arthur here? I was thinking about this location too when I talked about it.
But that's the location he used in the round of 32.
That's the one?
Yes, that's the one.
Oh boy. And what was it? Stargate?
Yep, Stargate Oracle.
If you put it here, usually it's always gonna... Oh no, it's not. This is for Twilight, I think. Imagine if it's for Stargate and then Oz only checks the one corner. So wait a second. Yeah, he hasn't made up his mind. He's hanging on by there, so he should be there.
There's a good chance that Oz sends over his mothership core though, as soon as it's out.
Yeah, but does he go all the way, knowing that Arthur before plays the Stargate closer?
Yeah, that's a good question. We will see. Either way, Probe of Oz is making his way across the map as well. This is kind of important because right now I believe there is absolutely nothing in Arthur's base. So if Arthur, you know, doesn't want to drop a third pylon until that probe is gone, he's going to have to wait a very long time.
Okay, I thought for a second Oz was going to cancel the Zealot, but actually he didn't. And it's funny, he's rallied that Zealot in the middle of the map. So I think he knows that that probe is not going to be able to scout for too long, so he's going to sacrifice a Zealot behind it to try and see what tech he's up against. And wow, Arthur, he's selling this so well. Third pylon in the main. This is very, very well done here.
Of course, it slows down his build a little bit. He even cancels the pylon in his main, and the Stargate will go down. Arthur, either a one-trick pony or just the sickest mind game, is going to do the exact same cheese as he did against Haas in the round of 32 of WCS America. This is crazy. I watched this game, you know, just barely a few hours ago. There is a Twilight going on, as Twilight being wiped in the main base.
Look where Arthur hides his probe. I think this could be an Oracle into DTs here. And this is such a deadly build, especially if you don't see the Oracle coming, you're gonna die almost every single time. So we'll keep an eye on that probe on the left-hand side. If he makes another pylon there, I really think this could be for DTs. And getting the 3 gateways behind it, he's playing it a minimum safe.
He's gonna have to micro a little bit over here, yo, and he does have 2 stocks, so of course he should be fine, but he doesn't have a mothership core yet, so it's not like he can cast the Photon Overcharge. That Zealot is getting a fantastic scout.
Do you think Oz realizes the pylon has been cancelled?
Maybe, and not just that, he also probably realizes, like, why is this mothership core so freaking late? What have you been hiding?
Oz has a Dark Shrine around the map. This is your reaction?
This is PvP in all its glory, guys. So we have a proxy DT against a proxy Stargate. Either way, I think Oz should already be aware that something is being proxied. Like, he saw that mothership core is super late. Arthur is trying to sell again something different over here.
DTs, I think. DTs or 3 gateways, because I think Oz...
I mean, he does have 3 gateways.
Yeah. And the Oracle, hello!
The Oracle is going to do quite some damage, pick up a couple of probe kills immediately. And of course, Oz does have to be careful. But at the same time, right now, there is no detection at all. So if Arthur now, with a photon overcharge, I don't see how Arthur is going to be able to do the damage that he's looking for.
He wasn't actually trying to sell something. He went for the Stalker attack plus an Oracle. This is the first time I've seen something like that, but against photon overcharge, this is why you never see this build. It's just not good.
But the Oracle went down, guys. The Oracle has died, which means right now there is no detection at all. What is going to be extremely important is that Arthur does not spend all of his gas and that Arthur is able to chrono boost out one more Oracle. That is the only way that he's going to get detection.
Dude, I know Oracles are fast, but they are not stopping the DT from getting a lot of probes.
He can win the game on the other side of the map. Time Warp goes down, but he's losing a lot of Stalkers already. This is bad news bear for Arthur. Arthur is just going really deep, but he's losing a lot of his Stalkers. He's taking so much economic damage at home. He is remaking an Oracle.
Yeah, he's doing what you said.
Yeah.
And I think Arthur should try to mine as much as possible, maybe to get one more Zealot in his army composition. Do you think he could do it? 2 DTs. Oh, he needs to not lose his Stalkers.
Yeah, actually,
he needs to keep on running.
Oh, the Mothership Core is still alive from Arthur as well. There is no anti-air over here. Okay,
oh my God.
just walked in 3 Stalkers. So he's gonna have to somehow try to kill those 3 Stalkers. The work account shows us right now 10
this is the Oracle.
workers
He needs to get an
workers.
Archon.
Yeah.
Does he? You think he keeps the DTs?
Arthur pulled the probes. Arthur pulled the probes, so he's gonna try to win the game right here, right now. Which I don't think is gonna work because Oz can warp in one more unit, maybe 2.
I'm surprised Oz is not hiding in the back of his base and morphing an Archon. He's getting a sentry. It's gonna be too late.
Yeah, but he has 3 DTs in his army. He has 4 Stalkers as well. Those DTs have so much damage, and Arthur will call GG. And just like that, guys, Oz is up 2-0 in this best of 5 WCS America quarterfinals.
That was fireworks here, I guess you could say, because lots of action, lots of mind games, and it was very close, to be honest. For a moment, I thought Arthur might be able to make it somehow at the end, but those 3 Dark Templars, I was really questioning the choice of not morphing the 2 into an Archon, because I think an Archon would have done a lot here. Especially since there wasn't enough Stalkers to really kite that. But the 3 DTs, they did their work. You know, even though they were detected, they're still very strong.
Do you think that he went in too quick when he had that overwhelming Stalker army? Like, he already went into the mineral line when Photon Overcharge was still active.
Yeah.
Maybe if he waited a little longer, he would actually lose less units. And then that Oracle can save the day because he can completely cripple the economy and still have units.
But Oz would have mined way more too.
Yeah.
So he would have had more himself. So I guess we'll never know unless we resume that replay. And then
we can do that,
you'll
actually.
be Arthur.
I'm okay. I think I would rather be Arthur. I think it might be possible. Either way, it's close and it's hard to make all the correct calls in a in a match where so much is at stake. Either way, game 3 is going to be played on Habitation Station. Johan, so far, if you tell people, hey, Oz versus Arthur is coming up next, people are going to be like, oh, those are going to be some cheesy games. Well, so far that this series has definitely lived up to that reputation. There's no other way to put it, right?
Yeah. Habitation Station, I think this is one of the better maps to at least survive and make it to a second base. So we could see a longer game here. Wouldn't be surprised if that happens. Arthur, it feels like everything he tries, he gets the worst end of it right now. And if he wants to avoid the 3-0, now would be a good time to try a semi-commitment, to something. Maybe hide a Twilight and then go DTs, but send just one and go with an expansion on top of this. The thing is, on this map, Stargate is very good, so I guess it's going to be tricky for both of them.
Well, we will see, Johan. ESC Arthur is our red Protoss player spawning on the right top side of Habitation Station. He is down 0-2. Will he be able to come back in this series? He is going up against the guy from Planet Key Dynamics. He's a blue Protoss player. Will he make it for the 2nd time in a row to WCS America semifinals? He is Oz. Johan, the feeling that I get from watching this series so far is that I'm feeling that Arthur uses strategies that are excellent on the ladder, especially when you're playing under a barcode. You can go very far with this. You can win a lot of games. But if your opponent knows who you are, if your opponent knows that you have a couple of tricks up in your sleeve, I do not feel that you can do that in the first 2 games in the best of 5 against such a fantastic player like Oz.
Especially if it's expected that much. If you could describe Arthur in one word, what would it be? Come on.
You're tricking me here, man. So far, I would say predictable.
Okay, wow. Good one. Good one. I don't think I would have done that good. And no, don't ask me. Also with the late gases. Actually, no. Arthur with the later gases. Even. You know, usually with your 14th, when you're on 14th supply, and then the one probe comes out, you start double gas. But Arthur, I guess since he scouts this early, it makes sense. He don't want to have his gases all that fast. And it doesn't look like he wants to hide that probe on the map right now, but let's just see here. Imagine he proxies like a Dark Shrine in the main of his map. He already has the pine on there.
Wouldn't be too surprised. Arthur is going to scout this time, and he even scouted for proxies, perhaps afraid that also would return the favor over here in Game 3. Guys, a very wise man in this building, Sean the Apollo Clark, once upon a time said, knowing is half the information. I don't think he meant it like that, but once again, you know, knowing is half the battle, and hiding stuff or being predictable makes a world of difference. We saw Alicia have a lot of success against Bomber because he sold convincing stories and he hid information very well of his opponent who also didn't scout properly. And I feel so far Oz is scouting very well, and Arthur is playing right into his hand. And on this level, that actually just decides the outcome of the game so far. That's just the way it is.
I think it was very smart by us too last game to go for the Dark Shrine, because against a cheesy player like Arthur, a lot of the time he's going to try and skip detection just because he's gambling on something else. He's hoping that his one aggression will work. So what is this going to be for this time? What did the paper say? Did it say Twilight Blink with Gateway sound on the map?
I think actually it's going to be a Stargate, but maybe...
Here?
Yeah. Yeah, I guess it's much more likely to be a Twilight.
Oh, look at the probe behind the middle line of Arthur. Oh, I thought he was faking. Oh, okay, so he's gonna make the Twilight in his main, but the Dark Shrine are on the map now, I'm pretty sure. But it's funny how he put the probe there and then he waited for the probe of his opponent to die. I thought he was gonna hide something on the map and basically sell that he was gonna make his tech in the back of his middle line. So many mind games, man. Even us as observer, we are like getting fooled.
Also has 2 gateways right now. Will most likely go for a 2-gate expand. I think it's a pretty safe and solid build on Habitation Station. Like you mentioned earlier, Johan, one of the best maps to go for an expand, and especially with these 2 sentries behind this. That is what I'm expecting. That Mothership Core, Johan, is going to spot this Twilight console on the north side of the map.
Yeah, and he's going to see that he's not researching Blink as well, so I mean, from there.
Arthur can't even fire up Blink right now. I feel Oz already has such a good read on what he's playing.
He has a single Stalker. He's going to lose one probe, almost loses another one, but with the 2 here, he's going to be okay. And those Stalkers come in for us. He thinks he has enough, and he does have enough. Mothership Core plus 3 Stalker against just 2 Stalkers. I think right now, not only is going to do damage, he knows exactly what he's up against.
Yeah, I think he already knew before because he wiped in the Robo. He saw like, you're not researching Twilight, and where is your Mothership Core? Arthur again taking an early game beating over here. His strategy is pretty much scouted, even though Oz didn't see the Dark Shrine. Oz is good enough to put the pieces in the right place, and also picked off a few probes. Even though that Mothership Core from Arthur, Johan, on the other side of the map is actually doing some work.
Yeah, but Warp Gate just finished, and Oz, as long as he's careful and DTs don't get in. By the way, the Pylon gonna line up nicely with the Dark Shrine down the ramp. Oz even starts a natural. He starts an expansion.
Yeah.
He's confident enough to start an expansion. He doesn't really need to, I mean, right now.
I think it's completely okay because he doesn't have tech to finish off his opponent. And like, just gateway units with no
you know,
blink.
he could have waited a little bit, like he's done a ton of damage, but he's like, you know what? I have enough. And 3 Dark Templars. Arthur plans on breaking the force field. The thing is, those DTs, they could actually be trapped inside. I think if I'm Oz here, okay, no, they're not going to go up the ramp. They go for the expansion. They're going to be trapped inside anyway. If Oz double force field the ramp, he's going to have to cancel. But behind this,
he is going to do it. Oh, they slipped through actually. Wow, that's one lucky guy.
Houdini.
That is an Houdini. Well, so 2 Dark Templars for an expand, or at least a cancelled expand. That is not actually the worst trade in the world. And you know, if we take a look at the worker count, Arthur is actually at 29 workers.
Yeah.
I think that Mothership Core did some work again, didn't it?
Yeah, and Oz, he cut pro production for a while too. He was making units. So even though it doesn't make sense, he started the expansion, but then he doesn't make probe and make units. At least he finds that now.
I mean, I think he look at the Mothership Core from Arthur. If we just go to the other side of the map real quick, look at the amount of kills on that bad boy. How often do you see Mothership Core with 7 kills? That's a lot of kills. That's a few more than it should have got as well.
In all of my other games, no. It happens sometimes, yeah. The thing, it was pretty fortunate for Arthur, you know, that he went for this and that's Oz went for aggression. The thing is, I say that, but back at home he took quite some damage himself. The thing is, the damage they did was better. He did more damage. Losing those 2 DTs, I guess, in the end is what makes him behind on supply, but...
Oh, I love this, Johan. I love what we see over here on the south side of the map. Oz is scouting with hallucinated units because he's like, hey, I didn't see your Dark Shrine. I would like to see where it is. And a hallucinated Stalker has actually scouted what went on the south side of the map. So in the later stage of this game, Oz can walk there and just pick up that pine and pick up that Dark Shrine. I think that's very cute. I've really seen a scout like that. I've no idea why it's not a Phoenix, but, you know... I think it's pretty cool.
Do you get 2 Stalkers if you use a hallucination? Yeah, you get 2.
I think you do.
Yeah, so that's why. Stalkers are pretty fast themselves.
Yeah. Pretty sick. Next time we hallucinate probes, you get 4.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, you get 4.
Hey, why didn't you do that?
I don't know. Next time, you know, this is the future of PvP.
You're
You
a
just see
genius,
a bunch of probes all over the map. That's awesome.
Both players went for the +1 about the same time. Quicker charge for Arthur. You think there is any chance we see some kind of all-in follow-up here? I guess he's taking the gas list on his expansion, so probably not anytime soon. But I like that. I like when we see that, the difference in tech. Colossus against Charge-Out Archon Immortal is always very interesting to follow. And remember what I said earlier. I think these days it's very hard to make Colossus work against this strategy.
Yep, time warps have to be excellent in a certain phase in the game. And also already showing us that he's using this warp prism a little bit with these immortals in it. Now in the old days, guys, this was a very legit opening for a very long time in PvP because back then you didn't want to invest resources in Blink, but hey, without Blink you're not going to catch this warp prism, especially not if warp prism speed is ready. These days it's a little easier to defend because of course, hey, there is photon overcharge and it's not just good against Zerg and Terran, it's also excellent in dealing with warp prism harassment, but that doesn't mean that it's useless and that it can't do anything. For instance, right now this warp prism is going to go to the south side of the map and 2 immortals have a lot of DPS and there's a good chance that he picks up this Dark Shrine.
Yeah, which is going to be a nice win here. The worker count is really important at this point, building up economy consistently while macroing properly. The thing is, for Arthur to be able to engage into Colossus, it's going to be the tricky part, because Oz, he knows exactly what he's up against. So Arthur is going to have to be the one, I feel, who has to make something happen. I don't think that Oz goes for a 2-base, even though he could. You see, he's stopped making probe here for some time. So if Oz go for some kind of 3 Colossus, lots of Charge Lot and Templar transition behind this with like 8 gateways, it could be quite deadly. And look, gateway explosion happening now.
To be honest, I think that Oz should never go up to 3 bases as long as Arthur doesn't go up to 3 bases. And if Arthur doesn't go up to 3 bases, I don't see how he can win because the ramp on the natural is so small. How can you run up that ramp, you know, with Charge Lot Immortal or Charge Lot Immortal Archon against Colossus that will sit there in a concave, a photon overcharge goes down, a time warp goes down. I think if Arthur really wants to make this tricky for us, he needs to drop a third Nexus, and then I don't even care if he's gonna saturate it or not, but he needs to drop it, and he does. Okay, that's a good move there by Arthur.
Wow, Oz is actually playing it so safe. I thought he might just go for a 3rd base and then add the Templar Archive, but no, he's like, I don't want to die. Because if you engage without Archons, against Archons and Immortals, even though you have Colossus, it's going to be very tough to make it work. And brilliant move here by Arthur. Since he cannot really fight
2 base versus 2 base?
Yeah, 2 base versus 2 base, and when Oz base in particular is waiting for him to attack, he's going to use a Warp Prism here for maybe do some kind of a drop in the middle line. And you know, if he actually had the Dark Shrine, it would be a lot better. It will really help warping in some DTs.
It's so annoying. So annoying to deal with. Because Oz, of course, doesn't have a whole lot of defense either. Yo, and like he dropped that 3rd Nexus, and I like it because it puts some more pressure on Oz. It forces Oz to, you know, maybe make something happen. Oz starts going on a small adventure with his army as well. Army supply right now is 71 against 64. Yeah. He has Colossus, so Arthur has to be careful. But this Warp Prism right now could be awesome. At the same time, though, Arthur might need every single unit at home. Time warps are crucial in a fight like this.
Yeah, but Oz didn't bring his Mothership Core.
What?
Yeah, he left it back at home to be ready and defend against that. It's actually gonna help, I guess, against that Warp Prism, and then he can send the Mothership Core after that to help with his army. But if he gets engaged in Time Warp here, there's no running away.
It's hard to call this fight. One way or the other, I like the Colossus positioning a lot. I think those force fields are helping out as well. I actually think that this is still a very good engagement for us. Yes, Immortal Archon is good, but if Colossus are untouchable in the back of an army, then Colossus are still king in PvP. They still reign supreme, and us reign supreme in this quarterfinal. Takes a smooth, convincing 3-0 victory over Arthur.
It was interesting, you know. Something that happens that I should have paid closer attention to is they both cut walkers very, very early here. I think Oz was basically planning this attack by taking the third base. He was thinking about doing ceremony here, I think. By taking the third base like he did, he was basically the one finally telling a story to Arthur, which is, I'm going to play it standard, take a third base, take it easy. But no, he was planning this attack all along, and Arthur himself was also cutting probes because he was planning an attack as well with that gold base. I think he just wanted to transfer a bunch of probes to the gold, start mining a lot. And this attack actually happens right before the gateway explosion of Arthur happened. So the gold base never had time to kick in. Oz attacked as it finished. Brilliant timing.
Yep, I think it was brilliant timing, but I also think that with the style that Arthur was playing, the engagement is everything, and I felt that the place where they fought in the habitation station, I do not feel that is a good moment to engage an army. You know, when you have Immortal Archon, unless your numbers are overwhelming. But the Colossus player actually had more army supply, and that's not the way it's supposed to be, because Colossus are expensive. So I felt overall that was a dream engagement for us. And
it was because of those DTs again. They didn't do anything.
Yeah.
He got to cancel the Nexus, but that's it.
Either way, I think you know, it was a little underwhelming perhaps, but still it looked good for us, and we have a very exciting top four. I think, you know, anyone can win it, and I'm very curious to see how Oz feels about his tournament chances. So Paul, take it away.
Thank you. With Oz, congratulations. Your smile just says everything about it right now. I mean, I was going to ask you, how do you feel about the fact that it was so straightforward and easy, it seemed like to us, but I guess right now I want to know what it means to you to reach the semi-final for 2 consecutive seasons in WCS America.
일단 사실 뭐 2시즌 연속, 뭐 3시즌 연속 이런 그런 거에는 별로 상관이 없고요. 개인적으로 트로피를 정말 갖고 싶어서 선수 생활을, 나이가 많은데도 트로피를 정말 갖고 싶어서 계속해서 열심히 하고 있는데, 이번이 조금 좋은 기회인 것 같아요. 제가 폴트 선수한테 작년 시즌2 그리고 시즌3 이렇게 2번 연속 졌는데, 이번에도 솔직히 폴트 선수가 이길 줄 알았는데 폴트 선수가 좀 떨어져서 좋은 기회인 것 같아요.
Okay, he says season 1 and 2, he's not even thinking about those. He's an older player in terms of StarCraft, and he actually lost to Polt previously. He's actually really happy that Polt is out of the tournament, and he just really wants that trophy, and that's why he continues on in these tournaments.
Okay, you've avoided Polt, which is good news for you because obviously you lost last season, but you now play Revival, who you played at Intel Extreme Masters last year and lost to him, so still a tough player, right?
근데 그때는 제가 스스로 정말 자신이 없었고, 그래서 뭐 그냥 그때 지긴 졌는데, 지금은 그때랑은 제 스스로 많이 달라졌기 때문에 이번에는 자신 있어요.
He said at that time he had no confidence in himself anyway, but right now he's in a much better form, and he's confident that he's going to be able to beat him out.
Okay, I think it's really nice for you that, you know, a couple of months ago things didn't look...
Speak English.
I know he can. Thank you, Carmack. A couple of months ago things weren't looking very good for you. You were struggling a little bit in round of 32. You didn't have a team, but now things seem to be coming really good for you. You're playing well. You have a brand new team. I mean, just tell me how it's changed over the last couple of months for you.
그래서 일단 선수 팀이 없는 동안에 솔직히 당연히 좀 힘이 들었었는데, 제가 IM 팀 하우스에서 계속해서 연습을 해왔어요. 그래서 뭐 연습하는 거나 그런 거는 힘든 게 없었고요. 그래서 정말 그 IM팀 감독님께 너무 감사의 말씀 드리고, 또 이번에 이렇게 대회도 계속해서 이기고 있고, 또 팀도 구해서 정말 기분이 너무 좋은데 좀 만족하지 않고 이번에는 꼭 우승까지 했으면 좋겠어요. 왜냐면 새로운 팀 유니폼을 입고 경기를 했으니까.
That was long, but I got it this time. He says that when he didn't have the team, it was a really hard time for him. He practiced at the IM house. He was able to hone his skills there. He's really thankful for the coaches there that were able to lead him along this way. But now he's got a new team and newfound confidence, and he just really wants that trophy. And so here he is. He's going to play his best.
Okay, let's just talk about the game quickly as well, because we haven't really talked about the game at all yet. 3-0 against a player like Arthur. You obviously knew that he was going to be very cheesy. So how did you prepare for that?
뭐 어떻게 준비했냐고요? 예, 일단 그 8강 대진이 확정됐을 때 아무래도 가장 경험이 없는 선수고 그래서 좀 솔직히 기분이 좋았어요. 그리고 역시나 어린 선수고 경험이 많이 없다 보니까 좀 긴장을 많이 할 거라고 생각해서 좀 안정적으로 준비를 했는데 상대 선수가 역시나 긴장을 많이 한 것 같아요. 너무 어리고 경험이 많이 없어서.
When he saw that he was playing against Arthur, he was a little bit relieved. He's a young player who doesn't have much experience, and so he was able to take that into consideration, and that's why he feels that he was able to beat him out so easily.
All right, one final question in English this time, okay? Yes, in English. Okay. What would it mean to you to finally win a Premier tournament?
이거를 우승했다면
우승하면 뭐
너한테 무슨 의미인지.
일단 만약에
English.
되게 중요한 질문이어서 그냥 좀
Okay, he said first he's going to do it in Korean and then he'll do it in English.
일단 선수 생활을 굉장히 오래 했어요. 제가 19살 때부터 했는데 거의 이제 한 7년이 됐죠. 굉장히 오랜 시간 했는데 선수 생활을 이렇게 몇 번이고 그만두고 싶었었는데 그때마다 좀 트로피가 하나도 없어서 되게 선수 생활을 한 흔적을 좀 남기고 싶었는데 그게 없어서 굉장히 아쉬웠어요. 그래서 모르겠어요. 만약에 우승하게 된다면 막 모르겠어요. 해본 적이 없어서 잘 모르겠는데 막 울 것 같기도 하고 잘 모르겠어요.
All right, so his serious answer for this is that he's been a pro gamer since he was 19, he said. And it's a long time. He's older and he has no trophies to show for it. So he's thought about retiring many times, but said, no, I don't have anything to show for this. So if he gets this trophy this time around, he goes, I don't know what I'll do. I might cry. I don't know. He's just completely lost. But I'm going to have him say a part of that in English.
Hi.
Sure? Okay. All right, okay. Despite the fact that Carmack was giving him a hard time, ladies and gentlemen, Oz is the winner in our final game of the round of 8 for WCS America, and he makes up a very interesting round of 4, which will be shown tomorrow. You don't want to miss it. For now, that is it from WCS America. But before we go, let's get the final thoughts of all three gentlemen at the analysis desk.
Thank you very much, Paul, and thank you very much, Oz. Yes, this is almost it, guys, but not just yet. We got 2 more tiny segments for you guys to go. And first of all, at the end of the day, of course, we want to show you guys the brackets because all 4 quarterfinals have been played. And I would almost say, guys, let's just take an immediate look at the bracket. Over here on our right, we had Alicia coming over Bomber and Hyun defeating Tasia. And then today we had Revival defeating Polt. And last but not least, we just saw Oz versus Arthur. Nathan, your Terran thoughts?
I have to say, as any Terran fan must be, a bit upset. All 3 Terran players eliminated in the round of 8. And I think 3 players that had probably been favored over everybody else in this bracket. And that leaves me really impressed to see how far players like Hyun and Revival are going to go.
What are your thoughts, Johan?
What about Alicia? Alicia played really well. I think so few people are talking about how good he's been playing in comparison to like some of the other players, and Nathanias also kind of didn't mention him. So I think it was very interesting to see a player that has been around forever like him do as well as he did. And I'm kind of sad we don't have Terrence here doing well, but in Europe they're still doing okay. So that's going to be one thing to follow too. And I think the games today, I'm going to say it, they had potential to be a lot better, but I think tomorrow they're going to be amazing. Because if you look at the same ice that we're going to have, it's all crazy good games.
You know, it doesn't happen very often that I look at the player format or like I look at the tournament and I look at the field of players and I say, you know, either one of these 4 or 5 is going to win. At one of the very few broadcasts in the round of 32, I mentioned 5 players. All 5 of them are out right now. WCS America had guys like Liquid Hero, EG's Jadong, Paul, Bomber, and Tasia. None of them is going to win it. But I think in a way, this is also, you know, tomorrow it gets really exciting because for any of the 4, it is going to be the biggest win in their career. And that makes this really exciting, though.
Yeah, I agree. Those PVZ in the WCS America they really have potential to be 50-50 games, 5 games coming down to the last game, mind out map, and very, very close games. We saw all of these players being very strong in those matchups already too. For me, on paper, Hyun is the player that's practicing the most right now. He went to the GEM house. He's practicing non-stop, playing ladder, custom games, all that. Oz, on the other hand, is like practicing in a way where he's not playing all that much, but he's preparing a lot mentally. And today, that worked out so well for him. He beat Arthur 3-0. Arthur, who's a guy who I think is very, very good in mirror. And, you know, you said earlier that Arthur maybe versus Protoss against somebody like us, it wasn't going to be that good of a matchup for him. But I think he was probably happy with that. Because if you think about it, versus Tian and Zerg, I feel like it's harder for him to make his style work. But somehow, nothing worked today for him, and Oz was just too strong.
Definitely was. Nathan, your final thoughts on the top 4 that we have, and is there one player of the 4 that really sticks out for you that, you know, has a little extra story to it?
You know, I've personally been friends with Hyun for a long time, talked to him for a very long time about his games, all his difficulties, especially towards the second half of 2013. Hyun had a really hard time with some personal problems, and he's really shown to me that overcoming some of the players he's had to beat, I want to favor him in this match, but I have to agree with you that the best thing about this top 4 is there is no way of knowing who's going to come out on top, and that's what makes this so exciting.
I am really excited, and of course I'm excited to see what you guys have to say about it. So for the last time today, of course, thank you very much, gentlemen, for your final thoughts on WCS America. I'm going to throw it over to Paul, I believe, for some social media updates. Paul, I don't know where you are, but I guess you're here somewhere.